do you write a cookbook? It seems like you must go from 0 to 100.
It's a bit of a crazy process actually, and I think it's like any big creative project, it's quite daunting to start with because you just start with a blank computer screen, and then you know you have to have like 200 recipes, you know, if you're me 3 months later. So yeah, it's quite daunting, and I guess my first book, I kind of had this backlog of recipes that I'd been kind of saving up for it. A lot of those were just naturally there anyway, but with this book, yeah, it was definitely a bit more of kind of a trying out, testing process. Sort of chart of everything that I want to eat and everything that I think would be, you know, suitable for the book. This book's all about the seasons, so it's all about cooking through the seasons, and I decided that for me the sort of 4 seasons felt a bit too kind of mean for the actual breadth of the year and all the produce that is around. So I've just decided to stick an extra 2 seasons in.
Brilliant.
The beginning of the book is called The Start of the Year, and then we go into kind of the first warm days, Herald of Spring, Summer,
Herald
Autumn.
of Spring is nice.
Yeah, I think that's what I wanted the book to be as well, a bit more to sort of evoke that feeling you get at that time of year, rather than just saying it's May, let's see asparagus, which I think everyone's heard and done before. I felt like the kind of feelings that you get around that time of year and the kind of change in the way you cook. So I cook very differently in you know, December than I do in June, and I wanted to kind of try and get that across as well. So that's why so it's kind of each chapter is 2 months basically.
Why is eating seasonally important? I feel like I've become more aware of it too, and also things just tasting better around their peak season.
Yeah, absolutely.
But in also the context of like the climate and, you know, the planet and everything that's going on, how can eating seasonally help?
The flavours will be just so much fresher, so much more obvious, save money. It will most likely be local. And you know, obviously we don't grow certain things, you know, all the time in the UK, but wherever you are in the world, you know, there are local things, then there are the odd thing that you'll have to occasionally buy from other places. But so yeah, that kind of reduction in food miles definitely is much better for the environment. Obviously, I like to kind of lead with the joy and deliciousness of eating rather than, you know, wagging my finger at anyone or giving them a lecture.
It's funny, I've given your other books quite a few people and not told them that they're vegetarian because they associate me with vegetarianism, but they for some reason, you know, they don't think, oh, she's just giving me a very nice cookbook. What's going on?
I'm so pleased, because that was my aim in writing them, because I felt like the word vegetarian, I think it's changed now. The last 5 years or so have been a really amazing time for people who are interested in eating vegetarian and vegan food, because the whole landscape of food has changed. When I first started writing the books, the word vegetarian had some pretty sort of negative or really sort of floral, kind of hippie connotations, and that's why I wanted it just to be a joyful book about food that I love and that happens to be, you know, quite healthy and good for your body and the world around you in lots of different ways, but to just persuade people with, you know, a delicious biscuit. Actually, on that, would you like a cup of tea and a biscuit?
I would love one. Great.
Smell great.
I love this teapot. It's really lovely.
Yeah, it's really old actually. Bit of a hoarder of sort of crockery and, you know, antique cups and stuff. There you go. And then these are some thumbprint strawberry cookies.
Those
so
are
kind
beautiful.
of end of the season strawberries, and the dough is really easy. It's just blitzed up kind of oats, almonds, coconut oil, and oranges. So just literally squish your thumb in the middle, and they're really good because they're kind of, you know, you can make these with with a 4-year-old.
Do you remember the first cookbook that you followed along with?
Yeah, I do. It was really hilarious actually. I've still got them all. My mum was amazing. She's not that into cooking, but she encouraged me, laying it out for me, so she kind of furnished me with all the stuff I needed. And I mean, look at
that's
this.
amazing.
Real kind of 80s photography business, Christmas cake with Welsh rabbit.
Just that like crisp line.
Yeah. I'm glad things in the world of food photography have changed. I mean, look at these guys. I was making some cracking things at age 5.
It's pretty intense.
What about these? Apricot baskets.
Gosh.
Using a little layer of Angelica over the top.
Angelica.
I mean, where's Angelica gone? That's what I'm
wondering. Where has Angelica gone? I remember like it came in those blocks.
I think I have a pretty strong sense of how I want things to look and the props I like and the colours I like, and you know, and how I want the kind of feel and the energy of the pictures and the light to kind of take you through the book. So.
But does that extend to when you're making food for family and friends as well? Or
I mean,
less so?
It does. I think I've got a little boy who's 2, but the everyday things I use, like I try and, you know, I collect like amazing ceramics and pottery. So even if I'm just putting some dal in a bowl or something, it will be a bowl I love, that I love holding, that I love the feel of, that is tactile. So that kind of all pleases me, even if it's just kind of. But I do take an extra couple of minutes, I would say, just to like garnish things, and I think there's a lot in that actually, in, you know, the offering of food and, you know, how you cook your food, how you put it on the table, like, yeah, how you give it to others and how you sort of honour yourself with what you eat. Because I know it sounds a bit hippie-ish, but I think, you know, if you just, you know, rustle something up really quickly and then sit down and scoff it really, really fast, you don't take on, you know, the food, I don't think, in the same way, and you don't digest it properly and everything. So yeah.
You kind of stop. I don't know. Food kind of changes its purpose. In a way.
Exactly. Yeah. It just becomes fuel. And I mean, there's times in everyone's life where, you know, you just have to rush past somewhere and grab a sandwich, and you know, having, you know, the basics in their house, so having basic spices, like a basic kind of dry stores situation, that means you don't have to go out and buy every single ingredient. What I try and do a bit in my books as well is kind of empower people with some kind of like roadmaps. I've got more than 250 recipes in this book, so it's
it's chunky.
Cracker, yeah. I didn't mean to write such a big book, but it just kind of turned out to be absolutely massive. I mean, they all feel like really like special moments in time, but I think I'm going to choose this one because it is a cake that you can legitimately eat for breakfast, which is basically made out of all the ingredients that you might make porridge out of. So a little bit of coconut oil, yogurt, honey, apples, some oats, some almonds, a tiny bit of wholemeal flour, but not much, and some berries. But basically you just mix it in a slightly different way, put it in a pan, put some cherries on top, bake it, and you've got this amazing kind of rich, kind of crumbly cake thing.
And then my last question is, so we both share a love of avocados. Oh yes. Massively pro-avocado. So right here. Yeah. What is your favourite thing to make with an avocado at the moment?
Oh, that's a great question. An avocado pasta, which is from my first book. It's so simple. Just quickly boil spaghetti, lemon juice, lemon zest, capers, avocado, and whatever herbs you've got kicking around. If you don't, no problem. Everyone who makes it is literally like, avocado and pasta, you've lost your mind. And it's amazing. So that's one thing we eat all the time. Another thing is kind of like a step up for avocado on toast. So I've been mashing avocado but mixing it with quite a lot of tahini, which is so delicious, and then a bit of chili on top, which I've been eating a lot recently. And also I've been kind of like messing around with guacamole for like a sort of recipe feature I'm doing. So I've actually been doing like guacamole with like a tiny, so kind of like with a bit of a Christmas vibe, with clementine zest, with a little pinch of cinnamon, which sounds mental, but it's delicious.
That sounds...
So that's my top 3 avocado ideas.
Yeah, guacamole is always my number one.
Yeah, I mean, you can't beat it.